Hello and welcome back to Master of Orion. You may wonder what this video is about. It's actually not a full playthrough. I basically did the major meat and grind of this playthrough off screen for you. This video has more sort of the function of talking a little bit more in depth about ship design and fleet philosophies and all that interesting stuff. Because I noticed there was some interesting, there was some interest coming up about these topics, so I thought, why the heck am I not just giving my 2 cents about it in a short video? Because I did talk about it on the other playthroughs, but most people probably didn't watch the entire playthroughs nor the more recent live stream where I also talked about this a lot. But probably most people didn't want to sift through 5 hours of a stream just to get to an interesting 10 minutes to then zone out again. So here we are. Basically, this is a round where I basically have been very passive, basically avoiding all wars except for one in the very beginning, because I was sort of boxed in by the Darlocks and the Mechlas over here. So the Mechlas and I had a difference of opinion on where to settle. They declared war, and I took the system from them. But since then, everything has been real quiet. The Mechlas actually are sort of the top dog in the galaxy if you just ignore my people for a second. But first, before we get into actual hopefully big battles, because the Mechlas here apparently have a fleet that's bigger than my fleet here, at least the one here. But I have multiple fleets actually, but I think those will be fine. Let's talk about ship design. That's an interesting topic, right? Let's hope the game doesn't crash in the process. Well, actually, I don't have to go into the submenus, and if I don't do that, then there's not too much going on. So let me actually start with the smallest ship, frigates. Yes, I've always hit on the frigates a lot for not being useful, but since you tend to build at least a few of them in the beginning anyway, in order to get some measure of security against pirate attacks and early aggression. I did actually think a lot about what to actually do with them in the late game, because up until now I always had just 3 frigates sitting around and really doing nothing. So I figured, why not bring them up to tech and install shit on them. Basically, my idea behind the frigates is that they don't have enough space nor subsystems to really go for any sort of synergy, so you should really just go with whatever is most efficient, just all by itself. And I think actually torpedoes are in a pretty decent spot, which is why these are armed with 4 semi-guided plasma torpedoes alongside a subspace teleporter. Basically, the strategy with these buggers is that they jump in as soon as the main fighting starts in a big battle into the enemy flank using their speed and their subspace teleporters. And then they unload a barrage of plasma torpedoes onto the enemy ships, which sounds like a fun plan at least. I haven't really gotten to do that much, but I'll try to use them in the upcoming battles. I think the only ships of them that I have so far are actually just defending my main transporter fleet. So I'm not sure how much they'll actually participate in the major engagements, but they'll be there. There'll actually be more than 3 now because I built a few more of them just for funsies, but I think they could actually do some damage, especially now since in the newest versions also the enemy support ships have to participate in the battle. They could basically be used against a much bigger force to just evade the main engagement and then sort of snipe the enemy support ships in order to prevent the enemy from taking your worlds, which could sometimes be useful. So at least they'll be fulfilling that skirmisher function, which is why I just basically called them skirmisher. The next ship class, which is actually one of the main ship classes for me, is the destroyer. I already talked about the destroyer a lot in the past, that it's big enough to already start to use synergy. The main point that's sort of holding the destroyer back from real greatness is actually in this game that the limit of special systems, because it can only carry 2 special systems. I would like it to carry 3. If it could carry 3, I could build the small energy boat of my dreams out of it, but alas, I can't. I also tested out a lot between which 2 subsystems would actually be best, because for For a minimally effective energy boat, you would need the HyperX capacitors and also the what's the name of that? The energy focus. Let me just check one of the bigger ships. High energy focus. Yes, high energy focus. In order for them to have all possible synergies for energy weapon boats. And battle pods are too useful of a system to just ignore, and I basically tested out which combination of two of these three systems will fit in the most weapons and how effective would they be. And actually, sort of the HyperX capacitors and the battle pods sort of won. I mean, this is by doing this, the ship is pretty expensive for a destroyer, but it does fit 21 heavy amount Gauss cannons in it, which do tend to do pretty much a little bit of damage at least. Sort of the main idea behind my ship, my fleets in general, is that I have a couple of bigger ships, and around them a lot of smaller ships will swarm and basically run interference and shoot down missiles using point defense phasers and basically screen them from a lot of smaller ships, because the AI tends to build fleets with a lot of smaller ships, so you don't really need to prepare for major capital ship versus capital ship action, because the enemy would just unleash enormous swarms of smaller ships with probably rockets and torpedoes in it on you. And for that, I think having a protective screen of destroyers right behind the capital ship is actually useful. I also made the choice to use Gauss Cannon as the main weapon here, because the Gauss Cannons can bypass the enemy shield entirely, which helps against smaller ships, because every hit that the Gauss Cannon lands just sort of hits the armor, unless the enemy is using heavy shields, which in smaller ships they probably won't. So it'll fulfill their hunt down small ships job really well, because energy weapons instantaneously connect other than missiles. And they ignore shields, so just mow them down, basically. So, the next bigger ship class would be the cruiser. I tend to ignore the cruiser, because even though it does have more special systems, so you could build efficient ships out of it, I don't think it's worth the hassle. I just tend to use it for very specialized roles, like this one was used to carry bombs and in order to throw bombs at planets that needed bombing, because they had too many infantry's on it and stuff. Check out my last live stream for some of that. I've sort of grown fond of the idea of using at least one of them for this very specialized role, so that I don't have to take bombs on other ships. The main reason for that, why I want to do that, is in order to have efficient ships, you should use synergies as much as possible, which we'll see in the next bigger ship class, how all the systems will start to work together. And basically using space for bombs, which do take up quite a little bit of space for something that you'll not get any use out of within a battle, just that you need to have in the fleet in order to throw bombs and not use too many infantry's on long campaigns. So I think having bombs is useful, but I don't want to spread them out everywhere, because every space wasted on a ship that has stuff like HyperX capacitors, which takes up space in order for future energy weapons to take only half space, is basically pretty wasted. So I would rather not have them deal with that, so that's why the cruisers are here for. Or at least that's why I have one cruiser, so that in case I need to throw bombs, then the cruiser is there to take that job. It's not a very thankful job, but somebody has to do it. Anyway, the next ship class that I tend to produce is the battleship. I actually kept this battleship just basically with a similar design philosophy as I would use it in the mid-game of the game. Basically, I think the early and mid-game should very much be dominated by missile boats, because missile boats tend to be pretty effective. I would, in the beginning at least, advise against using MIRV weapons, because unless you can really unleash a lot of them, you're just wasting space for things that will most likely 50% will be shot down, and then and then you don't really gain anything from the MIRV warhead. Basically, whenever this hits, it actually splits up into, I think, 4 missiles that do or was it 3? Or actually, they just split up into multiple missiles and that do damage as a regular missile would. However, on the way, they're just as vulnerable as one missile. So that's a problem because the enemy, especially the stationary enemy defenses, will use a lot of point defense weapons, which are the arch nemesis of missiles, which is the reason for why my ships will have a lot of point defense weapons everywhere, and also my destroyers will have a lot. And because I have a lot of destroyers, there's a lot of point defense action going on my side. So unless you can really bring a lot to the table, and probably only in the later stages of the game, I would actually use the MRV option that the AI always uses. I would just use regular weapons. I would just use regular rockets in the beginning, and then in the battleships and in the later stages of the game, you could probably change that a lot. The crucial systems here that you need to have in order to make that ship effective is the Dauntless system, computer, whatever that's called. This one. Look for Dauntless. Basically, normally without Dauntless, each time one of the enemy ships dies and there's still rockets headed this ship's way, then the rockets will just explode because their target was just destroyed and they don't really know how to proceed from there. But ships that fired missiles while having a Dauntless system installed, Dauntless guidance system, yes. While having a Dauntless guidance system installed would just enable their missiles to just head for the next available enemy target, so that you don't waste a fuck ton of damage that just goes away because all of your ships decided to hit the same target. It was down after 5 missiles, and then that's it. So Dauntless is pretty crucial, and I would advise getting that ASAP if you plan to participate in engagements. Another thing that actually helps a lot is the fast missile racks here, which reduces the reload time of missiles by a third, I guess. I think, which basically enables them to refire their missiles more often in battle. In the remake, you don't really have to worry about ammunition and all that stuff that you did have to worry about in Master of Orion 2, for instance. You can shoot missiles as long as the ship is still standing. You don't really have to worry about ammunition. And then having a faster reload timer basically equates to being able to shoot faster and being able to do more damage quicker than your opponent, hopefully. So that's also helpful, though it'll take a while before you unlock that. So your first variants of these missile boats will probably not have that. In the beginning, even my destroyers were missile boats, but I sort of phased them out and changed them to energy boats because upgrading them isn't quite so expensive. I'm thinking about upgrading my battleships because I have some spare money now, but it'll probably be more. It will probably cost more money than I have at this point, so I'll just keep them as is, and they're still useful as long as you bring many of them into the battle at the same time and not just one at a time. They'll actually still be effective. If you just bring one, then they'll probably all be shot down by point defense and not really do anything. So there's that. Just overwhelm your opponent with as many missiles as you can find and profit. So that's basically that. You could technically build a full energy boat out of it, but as I said, you would then just need to build new ships or pay a lot of money to upgrade them, and I just said, screw that, I'm gonna build Titans instead. So the Titans will sort of be the main meat of the army in terms of being the sort of central ship in the battle. They basically have every system that benefits energy weapons, like HyperX capacitors, high energy focus for plus 50% damage for the weapons that require less space in your ship. Then there's also structural analyzer for additional bonus hull damage, and then there's a range master targeting unit for helping them hit stuff on long range. I'm not sure if that's actually an issue, but it doesn't take up too much size anyway. So I'm not really sure about this slot. This could be something else, I think. Then it also has battle pods, of course, and because I like to mess with my opponents, I'd also recommend installing hard shields. You could also instead use a reinforced hull, which would basically double your ship armor. However, this will basically enable you to just screw with people who are using mass Gauss weapons, because the Gauss cannons, even though they are shield piercing, their basic damage is much lower than usually. And with hard shields, you reduce the the damage by an additional amount, so they'll only do a very pathetic amount of damage, and they have to hit your shield, which they were designed to just ignore. So if the AI should use Gauss Cannons, or if you're playing against players who are trying to use Gauss Cannons, then I think Hard Shields wins out against Reinforced Hull. But I think I could also just replace the Range Monster Target Unit with Reinforced Hull. The ship would be even more expensive, and I would have more space for weapons, but it would also work out. Weapons-wise, I decided on phasers for these, because I don't really want to rely on being able to just ignore the enemy shield, and the phasers do have a little bit more of damage. Not sure how useful enveloping is. In the past, enveloping was overpowered because it enabled you to hit the enemy ship on all four sides. But at that point, the enemy shields were basically separated into 4 areas, so that hitting on all 4 sides, yes, it spread out your damage and you had to take out all 4 shield dishes, but after those were down, you just did 4 times the amount of damage. I don't think it actually still does that, because shields don't work that way. I just included it for funsies. I could just not include that, and I don't think the design would suffer at all. I'm not really sure on the enveloping stuff, but then you would be able to fit like 350 heavy mount phasers, which would be fun. And I decided on phasers because disruptors do have an additional range. Maybe I should actually get into one of these for weapon discussion. Let me just go in here. For energy cannons, basically your endgame choices would be phasers, Gauss Cannon, and Disruptor Cannon. The Disruptor Cannon takes up a lot more space, but has a slightly improved range and a little bit of an increased damage. If you're looking at like damage per space, then phasers and Gauss Cannons are actually better, especially if you take the shield piercing of Gauss Cannons into account. The Disruptor does have additional range, which I'll be talking about more in the final design that I'll be showing you. But I think it's not worth it for the kind of ship that should be your main frontline ship anyway. So if it can be shot at by the enemies, it should also be able to be in range to fire back. So I think phasers should be fine. Phasers do enough damage to even get through the higher levels of shield without a problem. So they should be fine. It's basically that. You could also go for energy beams. I think they take up way too much space, and some of them, like the Mauler device, only have a very limited range to begin with, so I'm not really sure on them. Maybe the Death Ray is actually interesting because it doesn't take up that much space and the damage seems to be fine. I'm not really sure about energy beams. I haven't really experimented much with them. If you have experience in that and want to recommend something, that I would be interested to hear about it. I'll be doing some experiments with energy beams in the Doomstar. With the Doomstar you can only build one, so just having every fleet being equipped with one is out of the question. Because they're even slower than the Titans, I sort of said the range will probably be an issue with those, so I used the Disruptor Cannons as the main damage dealer here, alongside some Mauler devices. If the enemies should get through the first line of defense, then the Mauler device can pound it. But the range of 15 units is actually pretty pathetic, to be honest. And it also has a Stellar Converter, which every now and then it'll fire its big Stellar Converter beam and just outright kill most things. So that'll also be fun. I'll probably not use it in the main battles much though, because it's too slow. It basically makes the battle more of a wait than an actual battle. So I'll probably keep it around, and it'll be there to run interference should it be necessary. But well, so much about that. These are basically my ship design philosophies. If you have other ideas and say, "Oh, you're so stupid, you need to build torpedoes, man," then let me know in the comments. In order to demonstrate how good they work, I'll now go and declare war on everyone. Maybe not everyone at the same time if I can somehow avoid it, but I'll start with the Mechlars, because the Mechlars do have the biggest fleet after me, followed by the Tlacon. So I'll be seeing you right back as soon as the main fighting starts, I guess here, because I'll basically declare war, move here, and then the Mechlars will try to shoot me down with their supposedly superior fleet. I do doubt it though, because my defense stat is crazy. So the rest of the video will basically be fights against the other races, and talking about this, sharing observations and stuff. If you stick around to the end, or just skip to the end, obviously, if you stick around for that, then I have some interesting observations to share with you regarding a point that I've discussed much in my playthroughs, which is it actually worth using all the possible weapon slots here, or is it okay to just basically push them all into one? So if you're interested in that, then stay tuned for some discussion about that, plus a demonstration of the underlying mechanics there, but I'll put that right at the end. For now, I'll see you at the next battle there. Hello again. I did actually change a few things, because I had a small skirmish with a few Mekla ships and saw what sort of tech choices they were going for. And they seem to be going for the very late game AI tech choice of just mass plasma beam for some reason. Which is the main reason for why I actually now changed the Titans around to including reinforced hull instead of the Rangemaster unit, because the additional accuracy really doesn't matter that much, and the additional hull probably will. So let's engage in this battle, shall we? 3 Titans and accompanying 30 destroyers against 109 ships. Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, many of them are frigates, but they're probably all carrying these puny plasma cannons, plasma beams. I haven't really used them much because they're at the same tech choice as HyperX capacitors, but maybe they're actually useful. We'll see. We'll stick with our plan though. The destroyers will stay behind the Titans, and then we'll have some fun. So, for formation we'll probably. I don't think beam defense actually helps you against beam weapons, because they tend to always hit instead of unlike energy cannons, which actually have a chance to miss. So, not sure if square formation would actually help us. I don't think so. Well, let's just take square formation anyway, line up behind those guys. Let's go. Probably take a while before we get there, because the Titans are not known for their speed. Alright. I think I need to slow down a little bit further. The Turbo Titans will pack enough defense. I mean, technically with the best shield class and hard shields, we should be pretty okay against beam weapons, because we're producing the damage that they do a lot for each shot. But still, I am a little bit worried. Anyway, I should slow down. Engaging with the station. Firing range and just kill it, alright. Seems reasonable. Go here. Go full speed. Yeah, these are freaking plasma beams. Holy effing shit. They're really tearing through. What sort of range do they have? Seem to be higher range than my weapons for some reason. Anyway, let's enjoy the spectacle. One guy's down. Saw quite a number of those. Freaking plasma beams now. Guess I need to have more smaller ships against that, so that they don't get swarmed by all these beams. Come on, hold it together. Also, maybe having something to repair the damage would actually be helpful. But my destroyers are doing a good job so far, I think. Maybe I should go full Gauss. And the game can barely handle it. I'm sorry. You normally don't tend to see those battles, because the game should just be over by a long. by a long shot. Alright, they are getting swarmed. Where's my destroyers? There's still destroyers left, right? There's only a handful of destroyers that are down. Please help your big guys. They need to stay alive. I mean, you also need to stay alive, but bigger guys are more important. They cost a lot of production time. Okay. I guess going full Gauss would be better. AI does seem to not use hard shields. Maybe even Disruptor for the additional range. Because it seemed to me like these plasma beams did have superior range on me actually, which sort of feels bad. But it's actually what they're good at, shooting en masse against bigger ships for a long while. That's what plasma beams are actually designed to be good at. So they did a little bit of damage. How many bigger ships do they have, by the way? Sorry about that. They had 1 Titan, 9 cruisers. Alright. Well, we won. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't as pretty as I thought, but I think those plasma beams are slightly overpowered, just all by themselves. In any event, that was the main battle against the Meklar. I'll be continuing now off screen to just take all their stuff and then proceed to the next opponent. But you'll see that in the next snippet in this video, I guess. So, be right back, I think. So, welcome back. What happened is the Meklar have been wiped out, but the Akari have stepped up and said, no, we're gonna try to stab you in the back, which they really didn't do. I mean, they blew up one of my stations somewhere, but really that can just be rebuilt. But now I send a pretty small part of my force, which is just 2 Titans and accompanying destroyers. I think I have like 10 Titans right now, but I think just overwhelming them with superior force doesn't really prove anything, so let's take this and let's kill their fleet. For some reason they're fleeing instead of trying to hold their planet here. Apparently they don't like that planet very much. Oh well, but they got ships. They got 2 battleships, dozen cruisers, couple over 2,000 destroyers, and only a few frigates though. So let's see how that goes. I did actually change the main weapons on the Titans to disruptors instead of phasers. Let's see how that goes. I think the extra range might help, but we shall see. Yay! Wonder what sort of weapons they're having. They actually have missiles. Ooh. Should work really well against missiles, to be honest. Because I got point defense weapons to the max. Okay, that's gonna be interesting. Alright, line up behind the Titans. And let's engage for some point defense fire. And they're actually heading to me, which will spread out their forces because they don't keep their forces together, which would be reasonable, but this is not reasonable. This is AI. All right, Disruptor's got quite a little bit more reach. Okay, a few got torpedoes too. Apparently, most of them have torpedoes. Okay, engage. Engage. Beat off the Titans. Move it. Keep moving. Okay. Let's go over here. Well, they are being wiped out. I mean the enemy. They did pull in a few dents on my ships, but I don't think anybody has died yet. That destroyer is close to dying though. And those torpedoes, man. Turn around. I think there's still battleships incoming, but they're without support. For some reason. Alright. We did it. We did it, guys. We won. We didn't lose a man. Very good. Just wipe them out. Some support ships, some troop transports. That will be, whoops, will be wiped out now. Alright, this worked as planned. A couple of them had missiles, several of them had torpedoes, but we stood there, we took it, and then, well, we took it, and we killed them. Wow. Like those, they also took it, but they didn't take it for long. Gale. Alright, I guess so much for the Alkari threat. I think that was their main fleet. I don't think they have any secondary fleet somewhere. They have a few splinter forces, but nothing to worry about. So, not really sure who's gonna die next. The Terrans, for some reason, also declared war on me. And so they're also going to get it. And because most of my forces are still here, I'll probably take the detour and conquer that first. So, not sure who's next. Maybe the Tlacons. If I have anything to say in it, I'll probably take the Tlacons next because they're probably building a pretty big fleet at this point. But oh, well, they are building a pretty big fleet. But we'll see more about that later. So, welcome back. Let's actually do one more battle. Sadly, the enemies keep fighting amongst themselves instead of teaming up to fight me. So their armies aren't really growing that much. So I'll be using a small part of my forces, which should just be 3 Titans and 15 destroyers against the main Tlacon fleet here. Even with that, I'm already more powerful in auto battle than them, but really can't help that. I have like 30 Titans at this point, and sort of these. I get tired of waiting around for them to produce more because they always seem to lose some in their wars amongst themselves, which rarely do actually do anything. So let's just attack, but that's probably the last big battle. Maybe there'll be some coming up later in this round. I doubt it, but we'll see. So what do we have? We have defenses, 18 destroyers, and 48 frigates. Do you have bigger ships? No. You had bigger ships here at some point. Yeah, there's one battleship. Oh yeah. Come on, guys. Let's rock and roll. Let's squash some bugs. Alright, so you guys will be slowing down and taking up a square formation behind the Titans. Let's go. Alright, move along. Maybe we can do it faster. It's really not that much happening. Alright. Should be entering firing range in a sec. Maybe a few secs. Maybe we could not stay in the cloud because then you don't have shields. Please move out of the cloud. Okay, you moved out of the cloud. Well, fire! Shoot them down! Alright, engage. Engage on your own discretion. Oh, that's quite a lot of beams. Gladly then I'm glad they're not trying to focus one of my ships, because if they would, they might actually be taking one of the Titans down. This way I doubt it though. Fire! Yay, you got them all. We didn't lose anyone. Though for a couple of the destroyers it was pretty close. Alright. So much about that, but I'll still do that video now right next to this, discussing a few things about weapon groups, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you right back. Alright, welcome back. This is sort of a demonstration about weapon groups, because in the past I was always uttering the theory that there may be differences depending on how you design your weapon groups in your ships. Basically, for this purpose I built battleships that are almost identical. They use a lot of missiles, but in one of the designs, in this design that I call Swarm, there's these, how much are these? 105 pulse-on missiles are spread out amongst 5 weapon groups. In this one, they're just in the same one. So, other than that, the designs are the same. So let's see if there's any difference in the actual battle here. Like here I can fight a space monster that probably won't stand a chance against them anyway. But we'll see if there's any difference. So let's take command of this. Against the Space Dragon. Was that a Space Dragon? I think it is. Alright, let's go. So, let's check which one is what. Could you please show me your weapon groups, like, you know, that stuff? Normally there is some, yeah, here, okay. Okay, so the one on the left side has everyone in one weapon group, the one on the right side does have everything in separate weapon groups. It didn't start firing at the same time, because one entered engagement range a little bit earlier than the other one, but it should be minimal. So let's actually just continue and see if there's any notable difference. So I paused again to take a look at the sort of missile spread. As we can see, it doesn't really seem to be that much of a difference. Yeah, the one on the left with everything in the one group doesn't seem to have that much of a different missile spread than the other one. Yeah, there's 2 in the front, and then if you count it down, they're pretty much similar. There may be small differences here, like it seems there's more going on here at the back end, but not significantly much more. So let's also continue. Right, nothing has hit, but everybody has sort of fired all the missiles that they have. So apparently they both stopped firing at a similar point in time. The one on the right stopped shooting a little bit earlier though. Which one was that? That was the Swarm. So apparently here in the middle there's a little bit more missiles per second, however you want to measure that. And the missile frequency is a little bit higher. On the one on the left, it seems to be pretty even among all time slices that you can look at here. For the other one, there seems to be more going on in the middle, and it seemed to have been done shooting a little bit earlier. Considering it started shooting a little bit later than the other one, there is a small difference, but only a very, very, very small one. So it's not as significant as I thought it might be, but let's just continue to see the Space Dragon dying. Right. So, as you see, there seem to be some differences, though I'm not entirely sure if that's just random or what that really is, if there's really something going on there. Seems like if you want to if you want to maximize your damage output a little bit, then you should separate them in different groups. However, there's something that you may have noticed earlier in the design screen. If I take a look at them on an individual basis, and I'm looking at the numbers here, then for defensive purposes, they're both the same. They both have a defensive value of 1,288. However, the one with the weapons being spread out, which is the swarm design, does, for some reason that I really don't get, does have a pretty significantly higher attack rating. Like this one only has 917, the other one has 2,000, or has 1,200, which is a factor of 1/3 more, which is pretty crazy. I mean, they cost the same. Yeah, if I go back to the ship design screen, they really just cost the same amount of points to build. Production cost is 1,637. The other one is also 1,637. But for some reason the game seems to think that they have differences in attack rating and DPS, which is strange. So, as I said, the theory that I uttered earlier seems to be true, but not that significant as I would have thought, because I would have thought, yeah, you have different sort of missile launcher slots on the ship that can only fire a few missiles every second or whatever, and if you split them out, then they'll basically just all fire at the same time. That doesn't seem to be true. There seems to be some influence on that if you take command in a battle, but it doesn't seem to be significant. However, if you spread your weapons out amongst the different weapon slots, then for some reason I don't really know, the numerical value of the attack rating seems to go up by quite a lot. So if you try to get the most out of the sort of auto battles, because they mostly do take these values into account, not what's really going on, then this design is probably superior to the other one. So much about the observations that I had for that. Sorry if that bored you. If you found that interesting, then let me know and stuff. I'm also probably going to be doing another playthrough in a regular series once the full release comes, but I doubt I'll do it before, unless I really am craving for another live stream, which I doubt. But anyway, that's about this. About basically constructing, about strategies for constructing your ships and battles and all that stuff. So, I hope you learned a little bit of that. If you have some more ideas for ship designs, then let me know and I'll probably test them. I do have this one round where that won't end quickly, where I also have enough money to basically change my designs around if I really want to. So, I could test things out if you say, no, torpedoes, man, torpedoes are really insane, crazy bitches. Or those beam weapons, you should take another look at the death ray. Then I could check it out, but I don't think they're worth it right now. But I'll be see you next time. Have a good one.